Ashmi, you know what happened? Riya ma'am texted in the group that we have a test tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yeah, on Cauchy Euler's differential equation. Can you help me solve this, please? I know you can do it, Kashmi.
What is this Cauchy Euler's equation? I don't know anything about it, Sunani.
I hope we had listened to Riya ma'am in class the other day.
I know, right? What do we do now?
Hi guys, I'm Tanya and today I'll be explaining the concept of Cauchy-Euler equation. So what exactly is a Cauchy-Euler equation? It is a special kind of differential equation wherein the coefficients are not just constants but they depend on the variable itself, usually taken as x. More specifically, the power of x that multiplies each derivative matches the order of that derivative. Let us take the example of second order case in general form. Now, do you notice any pattern here? It is that y double dash is multiplied by x square, y dash is multiplied by x, and the function y itself is multiplied by a constant. This neat alignment is what makes the Cauchy-Euler equation so unique. And this is why it is also called as the equidimensional equation. Now, why does this even matter? Normally, differential equation with variable coefficients are quite hard to solve. But the special structure of Cauchy-Euler equation makes it much more simpler. Since every term in the equation has same overall degree in x, it's natural to expect the solution to also follow a power law form like y equals x to the power m. Now, this isn't just a random guess. It comes from the fact that if the equation itself is built from powers of x, then a power of x is the most consistent type of function to try. And when we substitute this into the equation, the powers of x lines up and cancels perfectly, reducing the problem to nothing more than a quadratic in terms of m. That's one of the reasons why this equation is so elegant. We start with a complicated variable coefficient equation and turn into a simple algebraic one. Now, how do you actually solve these equations? The key step is to assume a solution of the form y equals x to the power m. When we substitute this into the original equation, we get something called as the characteristic equation. Solving this equation gives us different values of m from which we can build up the general solution. Now, depending on whether the roots of that quadratic in m are distinct, repeated, or complex, we get different solution forms. If the roots are real and distinct, the solution is a combination of two simple power functions of x. If the roots are real and repeated, then one of the solution involves a logarithmic term. And if the roots are complex, the solution takes the form of oscillations involving sine and cosine, but with log x inside. So even though the equation starts with a variable coefficient equation, the beauty of the Cauchy-Euler equation is that its solution can be written down very neatly depending upon these three cases. That concludes an overview of what the Cauchy-Euler equation is, why it is special and types of solutions it can have. Now I'll hand.
Hello students. So now that you've understood the form of a Cauchy-Euler equation, let's talk about the two key parts of its solution. That is the complementary function and the particular integral. Now what's a complementary function? It's the solution of the homogeneous equation, which means that we ignore the right hand side and set it to 0. This represents the natural response of the system. Now to find it, we substitute x equals to e to the power t, which reduces the Cauchy-Euler equation to a 1 with constant coefficients, which makes it easier to solve. Then, after solving the auxiliary equation, Depending on the roots, the CF takes various forms. Now let's discuss three cases here. First, real and distinct roots. For example, if my roots are 2, 3, what's the CF going to be like? Take a moment to answer. The general form has been displayed on the screen. You're absolutely right. The CF is C1 x to the power 2 plus C2 x to the power 3. Second case, repeated roots. For example, my roots are -1, -1. How will my CF turn out to be? It will be C1 plus C2 log x whole multiplied by x inverse. Now, one thing to note here, students, is that the number of roots depends upon the order of the equation, and that will decide your complementary function. Thirdly, talking about complex roots. If your roots are 1 plus minus 2i, the complementary function is going to be x to the power 1 whole multiplied by c1 cos 2 log x plus c2 sine 2 log x. So, we've understood here that the complementary function depends on the kind of roots. Now we talk about the particular integral. The particular integral is a specific solution that comes from the non-homogeneous part, which means here we take into consideration the RHS. It represents the forced response due to external input. The rule of finding the particular integral is completely dependent on the RHS, students. Here also we will discuss the three cases. First being 1 upon f of d into e to the power ax. This has been displayed on the screen. Now, if your RHS contains e to the power ax, you substitute the d for a and you solve to get the particular integral. Secondly, if your RHS contains sine or cos, how do you find the particular integral for that? You take 1 upon f of d square into sine ax or cos ax, and you substitute the d square for minus a square, and you solve for the particular integral. Lastly, if your RHS contains a positive integer raised to the power of x, the particular integral for it will be 1 upon f of d into x to the power m. Now m is your positive integer. How do you solve this one? Be careful. Take out the lowest degree term from f of d to make the first term unity. Then the remaining factor will be of the form 1 plus minus phi of d. Now you take this to the numerator. What will it become? 1 plus minus phi of d inverse. You expand it by binomial theorem. Then the expansion can be carried to up to the term d raised to the power m. If you try it out for d raised to the power m plus 1, the whole term will come to 0. So, the higher differential coefficients of x to the power m will vanish. This is how you find the particular integrals. Thank you.
Once we understand the concept behind Cauchy-Euler's differential equation, we'll now understand how to solve a given equation. First, we'll substitute x equal to e to the power t or log x equal to t. Now differentiating both sides, we get 1 by x dx equal to dt or 1 by x equal to dt by dx. Now we will write dy by dx as dt by dx into dy by dt. We will write dy by dt as 1 by x, and rearranging the terms we get x dy by dx as dt by dx, which is equal to d into y. Here capital D represents the del operator, which is d by dt. Now let's take an example to understand. Before that, we should always remember, if you're given a part of the equation, like if we understand a part of the equation with x square d2y by dx2, this can be written as d into d minus 1 into y. Now the question will be displayed on the screen. First we'll substitute x equal to e to the power t. Now putting the del operator, we will arrive at the auxiliary equation to find the value of m. Here the auxiliary equation is m cube plus 8 equal to 0. The values of m are minus 2 and 1 plus minus root 3i. After this, we'll find the complementary function. According to the rules of the complementary function, in this case the complementary function is c1 e to the power minus 2x plus c2 cos root 3t plus c3 sin root 3t into e to the power t. Remember to substitute t with log x for the final solution. After this, we'll move for particular integral. Particular integral is of the form 1 by f of d into cos ax plus b. In place of x, we have t here. But the value of a is minus 1. Therefore, in place of d square, we'll put minus a square, which is minus 1. Solving the equation, we'll get 1 by 5, 8 cos log x minus sin log x. Always remember to put the value of t as log x in the final step. And the final equation or the final solution will be y equal to cf plus pi. Thank you.
So now we know what a Cauchy-Euler equation is. How do we solve these kind of equations? But why are we even learning this?
No worries, we have Kashvi explaining the applications of Cauchy-Euler's differential equation.
Hello students. So now that we've seen what a Cauchy-Euler equation is and how do we solve it, there's another question that arises. Why do we even use such equations? The real idea behind this is that many natural problems do not involve fixed constant coefficients. Rather, they involve variables that scale up to powers like distance, frequency or length. And that's exactly the kind of situations that a Cauchy-Euler equation deals with. Take physics for example. When we solve the Laplace's equation for polar coordinates, it reduces to the form of a Cauchy-Euler equation. How? Because when you study the steady flow of heat on a circular plate, the radial part gives you a Cauchy-Euler equation. Now, this happens because the geometry scales up with distance from the center. Then, in engineering, especially structural engineering, when a beam vibrates, that is when a Cauchy-Euler equation comes into play, because the length is often scaled up to the powers and it reduces terms like x, y dash or x square, y double dash. Lastly, in pure mathematics, Cauchy-Euler equations form the starting point for a number of advanced equations like Bessel's or Legendre's. These may often be used in wave mechanics, quantum mechanics, or even in probability theory. So all of these questions lead to an answer in the world of Cauchy-Euler equations. Thank you for watching.